professional wrestling is not really a sport, but it's still my favorite sport. And when it comes to sports, even more than the sports themselves, the games, the teams, the players, what we remember are the moments. The catch, Joe Montana to Dwight Clark. Buster Douglas knocking out Mike Tyson. Christian Laettner catching the ball with 2.1 seconds to go and hitting a turnaround jumper to win the greatest basketball game ever played. And Kirk Gibson coming off the bench to hit a home run against Dennis Eckersley was untouchable to that point to drive the Dodgers towards winning the World Series in 1980. When it comes to wrestling, again, even more than the matches, even more than the wrestlers, even more than the characters or the promotions, it's the moments that we remember. And the last 8 days have been filled with incredible wrestling moments. Ric Flair returning at Triple A's Triple Mania and the crowd reacting like crazy and the announcer reacting like crazy. Will Ospreay returning at Resurgence in Los Angeles in a moment that popped me out of my chair. And I'm sure popped Jeff out of his too. Sting popping out from being powerbombed through tables by 2.0 and coming right up. Chris Jericho being sung to the ring. Chris Jericho tapping out to MJF. And then I watched a little bit of SummerSlam. And I saw these contrived moments, like Edge coming out to the Brood music. And other moment I'll get to in just a moment. AEW has been around for 2 years, and they've already given us some of the greatest moments in the history of professional wrestling. Rest in penis. Cody versus Dustin. Cody being kicked in the head by Malachi Black. And then Friday night, they give us maybe the greatest professional wrestling moment of all time. As CM Punk makes his return after 7 years and 7 months to professional wrestling. And I'm on the edge of my recliner, overcome with emotion. I don't know how he was able to I don't know how he was feeling because I know just as a wrestling fan what I was feeling, not even being in that arena. And the 50,000 fans in Las Vegas cheering the man's return couldn't hold a candle to the 17,000 fans in United Center cheering CM Punk's return. That was a moment I will never forget. And we're not done yet, folks. We're not done yet. In 2 weeks, 2 weeks from today, we are going to see him actually get in the ring for the first time in 7 years and 8 months against Darby Allin, again in Chicago. And I will be there. In 2 weeks, guys, 2 weeks, it's clobbering time. Welcome to King of Honor. Welcome to Wrestling Without Prejudice. I am your host, Zan Manchi and Sabunia. Right there is Jeff. And Jeff, we say it every week, but even more so than ever, it is a great goddamn time to be a fan of professional wrestling.
First of all, Wrestling Without Prejudice.
That's what we're about, right? Watch what you watch, watch what you like. You don't have to like what you like.
Good point. Very good point. I'm gonna back you up and say you said last 8 days. I'm going back to last 10, and that's also including tonight, because tonight we get Kyle O'Reilly versus Adam Cole in their 2 out of 3 falls blow-off match. Which, well, I guess they're referring to it as a 2 out of 3, but didn't you say it was going to be a 3 stages of hell match?
It is. First fall is
So
singles match. Second fall is a submission match. Third fall is, if necessary, you can still.
but I am going on
Oh
record.
no, I'm sorry. Wait, I'm sorry. Second fall is a streak, right? Not a submission. So I apologize. Go ahead.
I'm going to go on record and say that starting with John Cena's promo 2 Fridays ago with Roman Reigns, and then that later that night, Christian Cage winning the Impact Championship. And then we roll into the weekend with Resurgence and 2 of the greatest matches I think I've seen in a very, very long time, and 2 that I were not expecting to be that great. I thought Ishii and Moose was going to be fantastic. I didn't realize how good it was going to be. And I saw some things out of Moose that I'd never seen before, which is hard to do considering how long he's been around. Seeing a 7-foot guy moonsault off the top rope was just mind-numbing. And him and Ishii, the punishment they gave each other. And then you had, following that up, you had Jay White and David Finley, which the whole time, and the announcers kept talking about it too. The whole time they're like, he's not in his league. He's not in, Jay White's league anymore. To watch the performance they put on was epic. Looking at David Finley like an underdog, the way that they really played him up to be, the way that I thought he was, because maybe 2, 3, 4 years ago, I would have thought, yeah, okay, they're similar, but David Finley's kind of been in a tag team and not really, performing all that great, but to see him put on the kind of match with Jay White, it just proves, first of all, how great of a worker Jay White is. Secondly, how good David Finley is, and he hasn't been getting enough credit. And then to have Will Ospreay.
Well, the best ability is availability. And there's been plenty of times over the last 4 years when Finley has not been available. So
Right.
But yeah, he is a tremendously talented guy.
Just amazing. And then, another moment, and I know you don't like the guys, so it probably didn't stick with you, but the face-off between God and Good Brothers, considering their whole little Twitter feud and how Carl Anderson told Tama Tonga next time he sees him, he's going to slap him in the face, and to have Tama stand there taunting him, saying, slap me, I'm right here, slap me. That was a great moment. Will Ospreay coming out and basically telling New Japan to go to hell because he's the rightful champion and they stripped him when John Moxley went a year without wrestling.
Wait. I'm sorry, just take a step back. Which guy do I not like in that scenario?
God.
Oh, I'm fine with God. I just think that.
Oh, you are?
I just don't think they're as good. I just hate when people call them the best tag team in the world because they're not.
No, they're not. No,
because there are plenty of times where they've wrestled dull, boring matches.
After the Bucks left, I'll give them best tag team in. Well, that is until Dangerous Tekkers showed up. Best tag team in New Japan. Now they can't be with Dangerous Tekkers. And then to have Ospreay come out and literally declare, I'm done with New Japan. I'm still their title holder. Shingo can have his little interim belt, but but I'm not going back to Japan. I'm going to be right here on Strong, which now makes me want to watch Strong every week.
Right.
Then his little standoff with, what did he call them? Shibata's Bitch Boys. I thought was fun. TJP, you mentioned it about how much better he is on that show than on Impact. Everywhere else we see TJP, we like him except for his run on Impact, and I have no clue why. But and then we continue on from there. We also had a great night of AEW wrestling again on Dynamite, and they are hitting on every cylinder. Everything they're doing is working. Everything they're doing is working. And then we roll into Thursday night's Impact with Christian showing up on Impact and retiring the TNA title. And the promo he cut and the way the crowd reacted, it's so much different because he's seen as a conquering hero returning home when he's still signed with AEW. So that moment right there. And then Friday night, oh my God, just so much greatness on Friday night with CM Punk. And then I know you kind of mentioned the contrived moments, but even if they're contrived, they're still moments. And I marked out when I saw the Brood entrance with Edge, and the fact that he even did the Brood walk before he stopped to start his new entrance, you know, the I Can See You entrance. That match was just filled with fun stuff. I love the storytelling in the beginning, you know, with really focusing on a body part. You don't see that too much in wrestling anymore. The pulling out the glam slam and you know, that Phoenix splash that Seth was trying, but Edge rolled out and then hit the spear from there, and that spear that was countered to the pedigree. I just loved everything about that match. Except Pat McAfee. Except Pat McAfee. Pat McAfee calling a Phoenix splash a twisting corkscrew moonsault really angered me. And then also there was a moment where he said he wants to say words that he can't say on the peacock. It was like, he's another one that might be Mauro Ranallo pissing me off type of thing. At least Mauro knew the moves, but he wasn't trying to make every moment about himself.
I enjoyed that commentary, but yeah, there was a couple of moments that were cringeworthy, but I mean, I really liked how in that match, like the color commentary, like how about, like, you know, like for instance when he said just because Seth is obsessed with Edge does not mean Edge is obsessed with Seth. And then, right, you know, there were other times where it just felt like he was helping you as the audience get into the head of those two characters. And
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, and I understand why you like that match so much. For me, it's still WWE style. So, and I've moved so far beyond the WWE style. I couldn't see it as more than a 3-star match from my own.
Maybe it's the fact that I don't watch either of them. I don't watch WWE. The only reason I was watching is because I couldn't get Impact Plus to work last night, and you were watching Ring of Honor. So that's the only reason I watched it. But it's been so long since I've watched WWE, and especially these two performers, that I forgot just how good they really are. That's avalanche suplex from the top rope that he rolled into a Falcon Arrow, I thought was amazing. It didn't have, like, you want to talk WWE style. Look at Becky Lynch coming back and beating Bianca Belair in 2 moves. Look at I can't even, Xavier Woods out there with a squirt gun, squirting you know, the Miz, and them acting like they were being shot with acid. It just,
I wasn't with their. I was talking about the actual, like, WWE ring style. You know, it started out with punching and kicking. It started out, you know, and you know, it's just such, I don't know, it's such a different feel. I enjoy the strong style wrestling so much more than I enjoy the.
Yeah, I get that. The thing with me is I just liked it. I haven't seen an actual story told in a WWE ring in a very, very long time. And to see Edge, or to see what Edge and Seth did with the focus on the neck for the first half of that, Jesus, throughout the entire match, the focus was on Edge's neck. To see a story like that play out the whole time, and the way they sold it and everything, I have not seen that kind of storytelling in a WWE ring. I can't even remember the last time I did. And even the rest of the night, you know, even Reigns and Cena, which was a very big disappointment, how that match went. Even that didn't have consistent storytelling throughout.
Well, that one I haven't seen yet. I told you I tried to make it a point to watch the Edge Seth Rollins match this morning. But I did. And what I am really glad about they did not do in that match, because I was expecting them to do it. I'm very happy they did not. Was all this focus on if Seth Rollins hits the stomp, could it end Edge's career? And right. They did not have a stomp and Edge kick out of it, which I was fearing that they would do. I was glad that they didn't do that either. I liked the fact that he caught it. The one time when Seth was actually going to land it, he rolled over and caught his foot. That was and put him in the educator, which I have always loved as a finishing hold.
And he had the edge. He pulled up the execution.
The edge-o-matic, even though Cole just said Edge slams him down, he with the edge-o-matic.
Yeah. Yeah, he I mean, I don't know. I love the match. And maybe like I said, maybe it's because I haven't seen anything good come out of WWE in a very long time, which is so hard to admit when they've got three of the best workers in the history of wrestling in Seth Rollins, Kevin Owens, and AJ Styles. To say that
Yeah.
I've not seen anything good come out of there in a very long time uh, is kind of remarkable that I thought this was so good. Maybe that's why maybe I gave it a little bit more. I even rewatched it this morning to make sure that I liked it, and I liked it just as much this morning.
Good. Man, maybe I would have liked it better if you told me how great it was.
Yeah, possibly. I set some expectations, but yeah,
Yeah.
the rest of it was a joke. It was hard to watch that pay-per-view. It really, really was. But I'm glad that I stuck through it just for that match alone.
I did fast forward a little bit to see if I had time to watch the Reigns Cena match before we came on live, and I just could. I kind of like fast forwarded and I stopped and I saw that Bobby Lashley had Gage Goldberg on the Kurt Block, and I just kind of burst out
Yeah.
laughing and fast forwarded
Yeah.
again.
And then continuing the moments on Friday, the return of CM Punk, which was another one of those just like I know CM Punk is a great in-ring performer. I know he's never just been, like my favorite. I know there's a lot of people that love him. He left way too soon. And there was a lot of people place him a lot higher than I do. To me, yeah, it was cool seeing him return after 7 years. Almost as cool as Edge returning after 10 and Christian returning after 7. And
Almost as cool. I'm sorry.
Well, I would say in my eyes, about the same level.
No.
It was great. Well, see, because I look at Punk differently than a lot of people do. He just was never my top dog.
Okay.
But still, to have him come back, of course, and we talked about this last week, he had to kick off the show or they were going to lose everybody. And they kicked off the show with him and gave him basically a half an hour, which unfortunately kind of screwed over the 3 matches that they had because they were a little shorter than they should have been. But they gave him a half.
They had to have planned for that. They had to know, in Chicago, they had to give Punk that time.
And the way that he came out and just played with the crowd, hugging people, diving into the crowd, just sitting on the ramp for what, a good 2-3 minutes, just sitting there letting the music play and soaking it in. And I think my favorite line of the entire well, he had 2 really good lines of his promo. One was that he left wrestling on such and such a date in 2005, and now he returned to wrestling tonight. And the line about how he needed the 7 years so that he could heal his mind, body, soul, and there was something else. And he said that he couldn't imagine that stuff healing, staying in the same place where it was broken to begin with. I thought that was just a great, great line. I also like the fact that he's dedicating himself literally to working with the younger people that are enjoying wrestling again.
Yeah, that was something that was really important for him to say. And you're feeling that CM Punk was never one of your guys. Kind of that kind of explains to me why last week we were talking about guys that could be big superstars in promotion. Why you don't think Darby Allin could? Because Darby Allin's kind of kept that same mold as CM Punk is, and to me, Punk could have been the biggest superstar in professional wrestling. He could have been the so-called Steve Austin in 2011, and Darby Allin could still do that for AEW.
And maybe the reason I was not a huge fan of CM Punk was the stop-start stuff. I liked him when he was in ECW, that brief moment, but I hated the Straight Edge Society. I hated when he took over Nexus. I hated when he got all upset because he cashed in the Money in the Bank one year and the fans cheered him, and the next year he cashed in on Jeff Hardy and they booed him. And I hated that whole thing. I hated his whole. I've never been a fan of calling out somebody's personal demons as part of a wrestling storyline. Like when Lawler did it to Jake Roberts, I was not. When CM Punk did it to Jeff Hardy, and whether it was true or not, it's still just, those are personal demons. I'm not a fan of calling out their divorces in a storyline, stuff like that. And then when you get into and who was it? I mean, that's kind of what started the hatred between Shawn and Bret. Was they were told to go out there and be real, and they agreed to it. Bret even said in the documentary I watched that he and Shawn were friends until that all started. They liked each other. They were friends. He respected Shawn. Shawn respected him. And it was just the fact that things got so personal, and some things were said that were not true, that made Bret have to call his wife and explain some stuff. And that's where it started with them hating each other. And even when Bret found out that he was dropping the title at SummerSlam to Shawn, he went out and said, I'm leaving the company. They're asking me to drop the belt to you. I will do it with no problems. And he went to shake Shawn's hand, and Shawn swatted his hand away and said, I wouldn't do the same for you. That's what sparked the whole, which led to the Montreal Screwjob and everything. Right. But, and so CM Punk, I mean, and then when I felt like he did get momentum, and it had a chance to be something special, they really screwed it up from the start by having him come back 2 weeks later, and then jobbing to Triple H, and then they took what could have been great and ruined it.
Right, August 13th, 2005 was not the time he left professional wrestling. It was also the end of the first summer of Punk. And WWE managed to fuck up the second and the third summer of Punk. So August 20th, 2021 starts the fourth summer of Punk. And I don't think AEW is going to drop that ball the way WWE. Other things that he did in that night, like you mentioned, wanting to work with the younger talent. The very first thing that he said after not talking in a wrestling ring for 7 years and 7 months was, "You all really know how to make a guy feel like Britt Baker in Pittsburgh."
Yeah, that was a great line too. You know how to make a kid feel like Britt Baker.
And one of the very last things he said was about Darby Allin. About how he's seen him jump out of airplanes. He's seen him fly out of the be thrown out of the ring from a body bag, been knocked down a flight of stairs. He knows how much he loves danger. He knows how tough he is. That he's as tough as anybody. He's just like anybody in Chicago. He's tough. But the most dangerous thing you can do in a professional, what the most dangerous thing you could ever do is step in a wrestling ring with CM Punk.
In Chicago.
Except for stepping in the ring with CM Punk in Chicago. Right. So I mean, he used that 17 minutes or so he was on the mic to not only explain, himself being back, why he left in a brief way, but also to put over two of the bright shining stars of that promotion's young talent.
Right.
And that's something that, and when I contrast that with Becky Lynch coming back and beating the bright shining star in the women's division in WWE in 10 seconds, there's really no comparison. With two moves, there's no comparison.
Well, and then if you want to throw that a little bit further, AEW did a good job of putting over their third brightest young star with the match with Jurassic Express and Private Party, because Jungle Boy looked amazing in that match. He looked resilient. He looked crisp. He got the pin. He was on fire during that match as well. And it's nice seeing a veteran like Luchasaurus kind of realize, and even though, should have been his spotlight, seeing that it's Jungle Boy's now and he's there to be that supporting character is a great feeling too.
Yeah, I thought I actually was Had gotten home really before then. I was actually like making stuff for my dogs, like while that match was going on, especially since I went to commercial early in it. So I didn't see the whole thing, but yeah, I'm a big fan of Jungle Boy too. I mean, I really hope that this tournament is made for those that to be the team that they're facing that what they're facing in the cages. You're absolutely right.
Right.
I mean, I don't see any way that we're not going to get Jurassic Express versus Lucha Brothers in a couple of weeks on Nitro on Dynamite to set this up.
Right. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's going to be the finals. I can't imagine Varsity Blondes beating Lucha Underground or Lucha Brothers, simply because they that kind of takes away the story that is happening with Pac and Andrade. I can really see Jurassic Express going on to face the Bucks in the cage.
Right.
I think that's going to be the matchup because it does two things. It continues to develop Jurassic Express. It develops that storyline where it's starting to become those guys in Christian against the Elite. And then it's also doing service to the Pac and Andrade storyline.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I can see I can see the Lucha Brothers losing to Varsity Blondes if Andrade somehow comes out there and distracts them or something, or Chavo does, something like that.
I can't see that. I can't see that happening.
Okay.
I mean, Pillman is well, I know you have your personal issues with him, but I don't think he.
I said no. I said I was going to let.
What's that?
I said I was letting that go.
All right, fair enough. But he's still a very talented guy. I just don't think he's on the level of those other four.
Not yet.
Not yet. No, he needs to develop. But yeah, I don't know. And then what was the other announcement that came out? Orange Cassidy against who? The hell was he?
Orange Cassidy.
Yeah, there was I think it was on Dynamite that he accepted a match for All Out too against somebody.
Okay.
And now I can't remember.
Do not remember that at all.
It could have been a dream too. I've been having some weird wrestling dreams lately.
Did you it's amazing how what this and it's amazing what this company could do with 3 weeks worth of time, right? Because I had never heard of Danny Garcia, and I I'd only seen like Ever Rise a couple of times in NXT, and now within a few weeks they're 2.0 and Danny Garcia are some of those over people on the entire roster. We've got another just great heel stable going on now in AEW, and they're getting that rub from guys like Darby and Sting and Moxley and Eddie, right? I mean,
Right.
they've done a great job getting that stable over. I still really feel like this company needs trios titles. So they've got so many stables. It would be great for them to have those trios titles to be something else for the guys to fight.
Yeah, it would be nice. All right. Yeah, I don't see it now. It must have been something maybe it's a match coming up on Dynamite or something I'm thinking of, but right now, Kenny Omega versus Cage, a women's casino battle royal, Pac versus Andrade, Paul White versus QT Marshall, the Bucks versus the tag team eliminator winner, and CM Punk versus Darby Allin.
Right.
Those are the matches that are announced.
And it sounds like Sammy Guevara wants a match against Miro at Dynamite. I mean, at All Out.
Yeah, I was kind of getting that from the. But he also, Sammy also put out a tweet that he wants, what was it? The greatest ever against the best in the world.
Well, he's going to have to wait for that.
Right. Yeah, he's going to wait till after Darby Allin, but I wouldn't mind seeing that match.
No.
And that brings up something, and we were talking about it. I gave it a little bit more thought, but you had brought up, a wrestler that was kind of not known until he started with a promotion, and barely wrestles, but is over as much as he is with MJF. And then I threw in Sammy Guevara's kind of in that same boat, because that dude is incredibly over. He barely wrestles. We didn't know who he was until actually after we knew who MJF was. We never saw him wrestle in any promotion, where we did see MJF wrestle quite a bit in MLW. And then, Sammy comes in and is barely on TV, barely in the ring, but yet he's one of the more over people in the company. And then, did you think of anybody else when the last time something like that happened? Because I brought up Randy Orton was probably the last time.
No, I didn't think of anybody else, actually.
I was trying to rack my brain on it. They've tried hard to push big guys down our throats just for being big guys. There's really nobody in New Japan that barely wrestles. I don't know, but yeah, so it's got to be Randy Orton. Sorry, that sidetracked there to a conversation that didn't need to happen.
I don't. Yeah, they did. Yeah, they did, even though we had that discussion. What do you think is next now for? I mean, is this Jericho MJF storyline over now because MJF lost the 5 Libras of Jericho? Or
I think it has to be. It's time for.
Yeah.
But the problem is, it's still the Inner Circle versus the Pinnacle, because the rest of the factions don't have their payoffs yet. We've still kind of got. I mean, maybe Sammy and Sean is done, but FTR and PNP is not. Wardlow and Hagar is not. So I don't. It's hard to say. Maybe Sammy moves into the feud with MJF now.
Well, Dax posted on Twitter this morning just like a picture of the two teams, and it says "top guys out," and that was it. So I don't know if Cash Wheeler's injury is like more than we were led to, more than what we thought it was, and he can't wrestle anymore, or if that means that they're leaving the promotion, or what that means. But that's all it says. 2 pictures of them, and it just says "top guys out," and that was it.
I wouldn't think they'd be leaving the promotion after only a year. Where are they going to go?
Well, I wouldn't think so either. But I mean, I also, like I said, I don't know if Cash's injury was more than we thought it was.
Fair enough. Yeah, it's possible. It is possible.
So that's the
hopefully.
If they really are out for at least a while, then there's really no way to resume that feud against Santana or Ortiz.
No, there's not. So maybe the Inner Circle and Pinnacle is over then with the loss to MJF. I guess the other way I could see continuing would be if Jericho comes out and says, "I want one more match against you, MJF, and if you beat me, I'm done." Right. It is cool of Jericho to put him over again. I mean, that's the third match, third in a row. It had that been any other company, and probably any other wrestler, he would have gotten his win back.
Right.
But to have him lose to MJF again was also a good moment.
It was great because you're looking and you're like, oh, is Jericho going to pull it out with this roll up? Nope, he couldn't do that, and then flip back over to the armbar, and then the salt of the earth, and Jericho tapped out, and Jim Ross didn't. You never seen Jericho tap out before. I'm sure I've seen Jericho tap out, but it's been a long time.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I've seen it at least once or twice.
Well, I know he's talked about Dean Malenko for the Cruiserweight Championship. So I know he's talking about Chris Bobby. So.
But remember, Jim Ross said it's the first time he's seen him tap out. So starting with his debut in WWF, and those other tap outs happened before his debut to the WWF.
No, I'm sure.
WCW.
I'm sure. No, I know he's had other Chris Benoit in WWF before, and I'm sure
Oh, okay.
JR called. I'm sure JR called it, but I mean, he's probably also like 20 years ago or close to it, right?
Yeah, and you know, they kind of are in rewriting history mode with nobody's ever kicked out of the one-winged angel.
Nobody ever has each other.
Except Kota Ibushi, but nobody in
count.
AEW has. Exactly, that's what I'm saying. Is everyone? No, that doesn't count.
It was in DDT on a match like very few people saw. You know,
right? So we can rewrite history. But at least we're not doing it as badly as the WWE did with Sheamus and Cesaro, telling us that
you're never gonna let that one go.
No, that was the worst thing. I like, seriously, that is the one thing I will hold a grudge against, because the only reason they became a tag team was because they hated each other and went to a tie in their best of 7 series by having a double count out. And they were forced to become a tag team because of it. And then 2 years later, two best friends got together to form a tag team. It just irritated me.
Well, I'm not sure that's any worse than what I heard that they did this week, because again, we don't follow them really. But I heard that they took Otis and they made him shave and they turned him into a super serious guy instead of being the fun-loving Otis that we've known and loved over the last few years.
Well, and another thing that they did that really irritated me is taking one of the best characters in the women's division, Nikki Cross, and making her into some superhero. That Nikki ASH. And I don't know what they did to Alexa Bliss, but she's almost unwatchable now.
Well, let's not watch her.
I guess I don't really watch it, but wow, it just, some of the stuff I saw last night, and like I said, I think the last time I actually watched a WWE match, not just a pay-per-view, but a match, was Royal Rumble. So it's been a good 8 months since I've seen anything in WWE, and I was not impressed at all by most of it. Even the video package storylines that they were bringing in, and the characters, and just like,
maybe, and that's probably like another reason why like the Edge versus Seth Rollins match I didn't find as compelling as you did. Was I really wanted to watch the video package to get caught up on the storyline, and that video package sucked. It really sucked.
It really wasn't.
Because they would have the two guys saying the same thing. I'm like, wait, that didn't really happen. They were actually saying the same thing at the same time. Did it? What the hell are you doing?
Right.
So.
Yeah, exactly. That was kind of weird. And the other thing that I think would have hit home a little bit more would have been, instead of dumping the dark blood on Seth on Friday night, maybe just commenting something about the Brood and then having him come out to that entrance, I think would have went over a whole lot better had it not been because the night before he dumped the black blood on him.
What if they had just done that to start the match? That would have been something interesting.
The black blood?
And then they're just wrestling around in that black blood the entire match, yeah.
I don't know. I would have liked that, but
I really don't like the idea of, and I really don't want to get off the end of this, but I really don't like the idea of Seth Rollins being Edge light. We already went through 3 years of him being Triple H light. So to now make him Edge light is just really a disservice to how great a wrestler Seth Rollins is.
Well, and they kind of played it off that comment really pissed off Seth, and that's why he's got something to prove. And he proved that he's not Edge light. But I didn't look too much into that, because I don't think that's the way they're going to go with him, because he's not going to all of a sudden start doing the spear.
I know, but I was just saying I didn't like that, because we've already, like I said, we already went through to be Triple H light.
Yeah, true. What else came out? Was it this week that the whole NXT thing came out with Vince and Triple H, or was that last week? It was the week before. I don't know. It's just been so many great things happening in the last 10 days. and so much big news and so many good matches. And like, I can't remember the last time I was this invested with this much stuff over a 10-day period of time.
Yeah, I don't think that you and I ever really, and I'm bringing it back to the man of the hour, right? But or the man of the year.
Okay.
But I don't think you and I really ever had a discussion about CM Punk in depth. So I did not realize you did not feel the same way about him that I did, because he was my favorite professional wrestler. Well, he was one of them until one of them died, and then he was basically my favorite professional wrestler for 9 years. You know, because I loved him in Ring of Honor. I watched him leave Ring of Honor. I watched the entire storyline. So it meant a hell of a lot to me when he came out on that Monday Night Raw a month after, was it a week or a week and a half or 2 weeks after Money in the Bank, and he came out to Cult of Personality. That meant a hell of a lot more. It meant a hell of a lot to me. And for him to come back, I mean, wrestling, as much as I've enjoyed professional wrestling the last few years, I said how great it is to be a wrestling fan now. The joy that I felt of being a wrestling fan, I felt like it was injected back into me on Friday. You know,
Yeah.
And we had talked about how would it be a better, it would be a better moment if we didn't know it was coming, right?
Right.
I don't think this one could have been. I don't think so. I think they did a great job, like low key pushing it was going to happen without anybody flatly coming out and saying CM Punk is coming tonight. And then the crowd was able to be out there and excited and pumped and jazzed and ready for that, and just chanting his name before he came out. And I gotta say, one thing that we didn't mention is the ice cream bars. That was an incredibly nice touch and callback from 10 years
ago. Yep. Yeah, it really was. The other thing too that I noticed is that and maybe it's because they were so focused on chanting CM Punk that I don't think the initial pop was what it should have been. Because they were still chanting CM Punk, and you were hearing a few people cheering, but they were still chanting CM Punk over the intro music, over the first few riffs. I think if we would have started the show with that instead of the opening, they wouldn't have gotten to the CM Punk chant, and we would have had a much larger reaction than what we got. Because they were so busy chanting his name, they didn't even hear the music start.
Oh, you just mean like those first few rows, because that place was going crazy, you know.
Oh yeah, I know.
Yeah, okay. And brother, I'm telling you, I mean, the next Dynamite's in Milwaukee, okay, and Milwaukee is like closer to Chicago than we are. So,
right.
So we're gonna actually, I think Milwaukee is closer to Chicago than I am to you. And
I heard,
and so I would not be surprised if we get like another huge reaction on Wednesday night.
I heard a rumor that Daniel Bryan may be debuting that night in Milwaukee.
No, Daniel Bryan is debuting on September 22nd at Arthur Ashe Stadium.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And the reason I'm confident in saying that is because I don't know if you watched that media scrum I told you you could watch on YouTube.
No, I didn't get a chance.
But Tony Khan, they were talking about Tony Khan booking alternative venues that and like this will be the first ever wrestling event in Arthur Ashe Stadium, in Queens, New York. And he said CM Punk will be a big part of that night, and it'll be the return of one of the greatest professional wrestlers of all time. So he's not exactly keeping his cards close to the vest on that one night.
He wasn't keeping his cards close to the vest on this one either.
That's what. No, he wasn't. He said Friday morning I'm busted open. I think everybody knows what to expect tonight. I don't plan on disappointing anybody. I hope you all enjoy the show.
Yeah, and I mean they've gotten flack for them pumping up huge surprises and then it not being the huge surprise that everyone was hoping for. Like, I mean, don't get me wrong, the Hall of Famer that debuted when Paul White was talking about a future or a future Hall of Famer or Hall of Fame talent will be debuting, and ended up being Christian. I marked out for that. I thought that was huge, and that was also the same night that Ethan Page debuted. I thought that was a huge signing for them, but I know the internet blew up because they were hoping for CM Punk.
Well, hoping for CM Punk that night was probably a bad idea.
Right. Well, I'm just saying that, I thought they've always come through on their on what they're promoting. I don't think they've failed us yet. And even the press conferences leading up to it, it was we got a big surprise. And the first press conference was Chris Jericho walking out, basically saying he was all elite. Then the next press conference was Kenny walking out. When there was doubt that he was actually going to be a part of the company and so on. So I think they've done a good job of their surprises. I think they've done a better job of explaining to us the things that are going on Dark and Elevation on the weekly channel, on the weekly show. I felt like that was the hard point to watch for a while there, where people just show up and have a title match with no real lead up to it. But I think they've done a better job of that. I think they have some more future stars, and I think they're doing a great job of building stars, like a great job.
Speaking of stars that they're building, and I was very disrespectful to Ever Rise when we first showed up. But those guys are doing a great job of getting over. And I still hate the tag team name. I hate the name 2.0. What the fuck does that even mean? I wish thinking about something better than that. But I'm really enjoying these guys actually now in AEW. And Danny Garcia, I read this week, had a 1 hour long match for Beyond Wrestling against Wheeler Yuta. So I'm going to see if I can find that someplace to watch. If not, I'll pay $10 to watch that on that IWTV streaming service. So
that's what it was. It wasn't Orange Cassidy. It was Wheeler Yuta, and it was a Big Money Matt, and his talking about how he's going to be facing Wheeler Yuta, but it's not at all out. It's one of the Dynamites.
Okay.
We talked last. Was it last week where we ranked the the TLC match people, and we both had Matt Hardy as number one. Yeah. He proved it again, with his performance and before the private party came out, the interview that he cut and all that stuff. I just love it. I think he has proven again that he deserves that top spot, even with everything that Christian has done. Matt is still the one that deserves that top spot.
I was looking at, I saw somebody on Twitter that, his opinion I do respect, but he's basically out of wrestling with all the part-timers and the old people that are in it right now. But he was basically always a WWE homer. And he listed guys, by when they peaked, and he listed guys like Goldberg and Lashley and Lesnar and Cena. But then he also included guys like Christian and Jericho and Punk and Matt Hardy, about how when they peaked. And I'm like, my response was, okay, but these are not the same. I was like, when did Kenny Omega peak? When did the Young Bucks peak? When did Miro peak? When did Britt Baker peak? Then I said, and Christian, and I said, and remind me, did Jericho put over MJF just a couple of nights ago on Dynamite? And Christian is only in this prominent spot he's in because everybody else was booked, and he meant he put in time off to be with his pregnant wife. I mean, this is not the same situation. It's not at all. And to me, I equate, like you said, Edge and CM Punk as being very similar, where, one guy came back from an injury, the other guy came back because he had to, because he wanted to return to a spot in professional wrestling. He felt like he could have fun and enjoy himself, be productive in, and also help out the young talent. I mean, these are not, right. I don't think you can compare the old guys in AEW to the old guys in WWE. I think they're completely different animals.
You can't, and I would argue that right now is Christian's peak. I think what Christian is doing right now with back being the TNA champion, the run that he's been on, the relationship he's forming with Jungle Boy and all this stuff, I would argue that this is as good, if not better, than his 2005 run in TNA.
Agreed. And on that same side, how do we know that CM Punk peaked in 2011? How do we know this is not going to end up being his peak? We don't know that.
Exactly. And and the other thing too is, like, Jericho is not coming back to be a part-timer. CM Punk didn't come back to be a part-timer. Neither did Christian, neither did Edge for that matter. I did get a little bit frustrated with Edge walking in and taking that title shot after 3 months off. But at the same point, he's performed incredibly well since he came back, starting with his last man standing match against Edge.
And Bobby Lashley did not peak in 2008. He peaked in 2021. So let's
right, yeah,
as well. I mean, Lashley is a different animal than those other guys too. Lashley peaked this year.
Well, and I think Lashley started peaking with the Hurt Business stuff when the Hurt Business was the best thing on TV during 2020. And then to win the title this year, I again there too. I mean, much like Christian, I would argue that now is his peak.
Sometimes guys should get it later in their career than other guys get it. It just happens.
Or sometimes, like what Christian did, Lashley did the same thing. Lashley left the WWE to go to TNA to become what he is now.
Right.
It just took him a little bit longer to do it than Christian, where Christian was able to pull it off in a couple of years. Bobby got all upset because Hogan came in and then he quit to do MMA. Then he came back to TNA, and his run with the belt in TNA is what got him back in WWE. And then his Hurt Locker thing. I mean, he's one of the bright stars, the shining points on what is typically awful TV.
Agreed. And the one guy that you want to know, the one guy he didn't include on his list, probably because he's only an American wrestling fan.
Who's that?
Hiroshi Tanahashi.
Oh my God! Don't get me started on that.
But as much as I did not like that match, as much as I did not like the result of that match, I do have to say that was another moment this week in professional wrestling was him telling, because that crowd erupted when he said, I'm now your champion and I will be back in the United States to defend this title. Right?
Yeah, I get it. But
the crowd really, and the smile on his face was indelible. That was another just a moment in professional wrestling this week that was really cool.
And see, it annoyed me because just let Jay White have his moment.
I agree,
There was no reason for Tanahashi to win this. There was absolutely no reason for Tanahashi. It did nothing for the belt. It did nothing for Archer. Letting Archer at least have one title defense would have done him so much more good than having Tanahashi win this.
This was his second defense.
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah, but I mean, just it did nothing for Archer. It did nothing for the belt. It just gave Tanahashi the, oh look at, I'm a Grand Slam champion too. Jay White, suck it.
I don't think you can legitimately argue that the greatest professional wrestler in Japanese history holding a title does not do anything for the belt.
But when he is holding the title 6 years after he was the greatest professional wrestler in Japanese history, that's what that's like. That would be like Ric Flair coming back now at 72 years old to win a title that the WWE just makes up. I mean, this title was invented 4 years after Tanahashi was considered the greatest.
I guess I can see that. Yeah.
I just, it was a stat. It was a ego pumping moment that I just can't get behind.
But the match that happened before that match, I do think if you guys are professional wrestling fans, you owe yourself to go find it and watch it. You know,
Mhm.
if you have NJPW World, watch it on there. If you don't have NJPW World, then I think that match is worth the $25 to watch it on Fight TV. You know, you've got, uh, and there was such symmetry in it because 2 years ago when Jay White won the United States Heavyweight Championship, his first opponent was David Finley.
Right.
And now, you know, 2.5 years later, when he wins an ever heavyweight championship for the first time, his first opponent is David Finley. And the match was so much different. The guys are both so much better. Jay White is so fully into the Switchblade character now. David Finley is so much into his character now. And those two guys put on a hell of a professional wrestling match.
It exceeded all expectations that I had for it. And I have a lot because it's Jay White.
And for once, we got to see the Switchblade be the Switchblade in a New Japan Professional Wrestling ring without having to have somebody else interfere for him in a match, without having any outside interference. We got to see him go one-on-one against somebody. Yes, he used dirty tactics. I don't care. He's
a heel.
He's a heel. It was still one-on-one, and David Finley was just as dirty as Jay White. So
right.
Those two matches, like you said, the Ishii Moose match, the Jay White versus David Finley match, were two shining stars on what was actually a great card of professional wrestling that night.
Yeah, that 10-man tag match too with Team Filthy was like I'm really impressed with Team Filthy. I can't wait until I actually am looking forward to now knowing Ospreay is going to be there. Jay White is kind of prominent there, and Team Filthy. I'm really looking forward to start watching Strong, and I really cannot wait until MLW starts up again so we can watch that.
Yeah, did I tell you, or did you hear what the first match, what they're doing in the first event coming back for MLW is?
No, what's that?
They're bringing back the War Chief, and it's
nice.
It's the Von Erichs against Team Filthy. So Von Erichs and whoever they bring with them against Team Filthy.
Okay, I can get down with that. When is MLW coming back?
I think it's the Wednesday after All Out. So I think it's on September 9th. Or maybe it's the 16th. It's somewhere right around.
All I know is I just wanted to come back. They went way too long since the God, I keep wanting to call it Battle Bowl, but that's not it. What is their Battle Riot? Battle Riot.
They were coming back on September 11th, but now it's been moved to March 31st.
Huh?
What?
What did you just say?
I said it was scheduled for September 11th. Now it's moved to March 31st.
So they're going to be gone for another 6 months?
Yeah, due to the pandemic.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Yep.
Dallas events rescheduled due to COVID surge in the area.
Yeah, so I guess we'll see. But I guess we'll see if they still come back in October, because they do have an event scheduled in October in Philly, and also the Intimidation game scheduled for later on this year as well. So
in November.
And that's also in Philadelphia. So I guess we'll see. And Ring of Honor has no problems putting on Gloria by Honor the last couple of nights.
Okay, I think they just rescheduled the Dallas match or the Dallas night because they rescheduled that to March 31st. But they have October 2nd. They've got Fightland in Philadelphia. November 6th, TV tapings in Philly. November 6th is also Intimidation games. So I think it was just the Dallas one that they moved.
That's what it looks like for now, at least. So I guess we'll see how what they do with to build that feud up again for March, or if they move War Chamber someplace else. But it was supposed to be in Kevin Von Erich's backyard, basically.
Yeah, and that was another one too. I watched that. I've been watching so much Behind the Ring lately, or Dark Side of the Ring, that the Von Erichs one was on there too.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that Carrie was wrestling with an amputated foot.
I forgot that. I didn't know what it was, but I had forgotten. Yeah, and I also didn't know that Kerry Von Erich basically got the NWA World Title as kind of a bait good for David supposed to have won it the year before.
Yeah, because David was supposed to win it before he died. I'm just, oh God.
You okay?
So Alex Hammerstone has a new shirt out.
Uh-oh.
It's the red and yellow with Hammer Time written in the old Hulkamania letters.
Oh, perfect.
And the only good thing about it is Mjolnir looks like it has crashed the word Hammer Time in half. But that's not a bright spot for him not continuing the Hulk Hogan crap.
Oh well. So guys, we still had, so guys, just in case you don't know the list of professional wrestling events that happened this weekend. If you did not watch Rampage on Friday night, fine. Watch on the TNT app. Watch it on YouTube. You've got to at least see the return of the Second City Saints.
Watch it on Hulu. There's a lot of places to watch it, and go watch it. That intro, like, even, not even being in the building, I still had chills. Like I got the fact, like, it wasn't this thing, oh, if I need to see CM Punk in the ring again, I need to hear what he has to say. Even that still gave me chills with the way the Chicago crowd reacted, with the way that he reacted, with just, you could see the emotion on his face. The promo that he did cut, and calling out people, like you said, Britt Baker.
He dove into the crowd. And then,
right.
he got out of the crowd, and he just walked, and he just very gingerly, like, hugged a fan at ringside. Yep. And then he like looked around again in awe at everybody cheering for him and chanting his name. And then he was about to get in the ring, and he walked to the other side and hugged somebody else. I mean, it was just the emotion that everybody in that arena felt was just palpable for me sitting in my living room.
And even though he wasn't, he's not been my favorite, and it wasn't as big, like, so many people loved him, and you could tell that. Me personally, it didn't bug me one way or the other that he wasn't there. I know you, for years we've been talking about it, and you're like, oh, CM Punk, and I'm like, all right, I don't get it, but whatever. Okay, this is what I'm currently dealing with.
There was also Impact emergency event was also Friday night on their Impact Plus service.
Right.
Glory by Honor Night 1 and Night 2 took place Friday night and Saturday night from Philadelphia's 2300 Arena, really called the ECW Arena, on Honor Club or Fight TV.
Was it Friday night and Saturday night? I thought it was Saturday and Sunday.
Friday
I don't know why, but
it's Friday and Saturday.
Okay.
Last night was SummerSlam.
The only thing worth watching on SummerSlam is the Edge versus Rollins match. The rest of it was hot garbage.
Sunday night, which is when Jeff and I recorded this, is TakeOver. And also tonight on Fight TV is Warrior. Again, Sunday night is Warrior Wrestling has their last event of their Stadium Series going on. And then also GCW had a super show on Friday night, including Mance Warner, Matthew Justice, and Nick Gage taking on 44-0. And also Matt Cardona defending his GCW World Championship. Yes, guys, Zack Ryder is the GCW World Champion, defending it against the Michigan History opponent. And also Chris fucking Bay against goddamn Two Cold Scorpion. So, I mean, guys, if you can't find something in professional wrestling that you're going to enjoy this weekend, I don't know how the hell you're a professional wrestler.
I am loving Matt Cardona in GCW because he is playing up his Zack Ryder WWE wholesome gimmick just to piss off the fans. Yep. And I just love it every time he's on. When he comes out to the ring, it starts with the O Radio song, and I'm just loving everything he is doing in GCW. I never thought I'd see this side of Matt, and I'm so glad I did, because he's nailing it. He's hitting on all cylinders. And you and I talked about this not that long ago. It's such a great time. Oh, Jesus, Cap. It's such a great time to be a wrestling fan, simply because call it the forbidden door, call it whatever you want. But this many companies working together, I mean, when you looked at Resurgence alone, we had NJPW, we had AEW, we had Impact, we had, was it NWA on there too? And
And Ring of Honor.
MLW was there, and Ring of Honor. There is nothing bad about all these companies working together. Absolutely nothing bad. In fact, it is made for one of the most enjoyable times of being a wrestling fan in my entire life. Like, to have this last 10 days and all the great moments that happened across promotions. And I still haven't even gotten to watch Ring of Honor or Impact, or Impact's pay-per-view from last night yet. So how many more great moments are going to come out of those two?
And I was listening to I can't remember if it was Eric Bischoff's podcast or if it was the Jeff Jarrett podcast the other day, but on one of them, Conrad Thompson said, "This is, the Monday Night Wars is probably where people enjoy being a professional wrestling fan the most." And not for me. For me, right
Me
now, right now
Me-
is the time where I'm enjoying being a wrestling fan the most.
Like I was, over the last probably 8-9 years, just kind of whatever. I was watching more old school wrestling and like the Attitude Era. Now I can't find time to go back and watch stuff because of all the greatness that is happening everywhere.
Right.
And it's because of this forbidden door being broken down that my eyes are being drawn to things, like drawn back to MLW because of Tom Lawler, drawn to GCW, which I never would have given a damn about. But because Matt Cardona, and after experiencing Nick Gage, and then watching 44-0, and I don't know who that leader is, but he's one of the best heels in the business, bar none. Like, and I say that, knowing Jay White to me is still the best heel in the business, but whoever that leader is, and I for the life of me, I can't remember his name, but he is a close second. He is doing some amazing work. So really, really surprised that he's with GCW. And he hasn't been picked up somewhere else, but I'm glad he hasn't been, because he's giving me a reason to watch GCW.
Yeah,
I
go ahead.
It's just such a great time to be a wrestling fan.
Absolutely is. And I did also want to just let everybody know that speaking of being a great time to be a wrestling fan, and if you are a fan of Brian Myers, who just wrestled Impact, Christian for the world title on Friday night, I have no idea who won that one yet. Matt Cardona. The wrestling crate coming out in September is featuring those two guys and their wrestling action figure podcast. So, and also Swaggle will be part of that as well. So, what's it Matt Stone or whatever, the guy, not Matt Stone, the guy that's the manager for Jade Cargill, he's part of that as well. So, so if you're a fan of any of those four guys, sign up for Wrestle Crate for September at least to get that stuff.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I don't. It's just, like I said, it's just killing me right now. It's hard to get it all in.
And speaking of GCW, I will be buying that package for this weekend on Fight TV again. So that'll give us another
all right.
8 hours of wrestling.
Well, and then seeing Jordan Oliver versus Tony Deppen in GCW,
right?
That was another huge moment. Like I mentioned that Jordan Oliver, when I first saw him in MLW, and it was him, and was it Fred Yehai? No, it wasn't Fred Yehai. Him, Marlon Reed, Myron Reed, and then I can't remember who their third was after Swan left.
I don't remember either.
But he was kind of like that annoying little brother. But he has really grown on me, just seeing him in MLW, and then watching him in that 2-hour Iron Man match just gave me a whole new respect for him. So he's a guy that I'm going out of my way to watch matches of too.
Cody Brazil was the other one.
That's who it was. Yeah.
Yeah. There's so much wrestling out there, guys, and if you don't like AEW for some reason, or you don't like WWE for some reason, or you don't like Ring of Honor, or you don't like Impact, there's also organizations on Fight TV or IWTV that you can try to you can look. There's plenty, and there's YouTube organizations too. There's plenty of ways you guys can find a wrestling company to like right now.
And
It's a great time to get professional wrestling.
and not even that, if you subscribe to the Peacock network because you're a WWE fan, they have a ton of indie promotions. Evolve, what was it? Not Rev Pro, but there's a British promotion on there. Progress, yeah. I mean, and there's
there's some WXW on there as well.
Yep.
And I can't wait till they have the Dragon Gate USA stuff.
Yeah, and then of course Impact Plus, they've got their indie section too. So it's just, you can find wrestling anywhere. You can find hidden gems anywhere. You can and there's no excuse for people to say, well, I watch WWE because there's nothing else out there.
No.
There's no excuse. And the only way WWE is ever going to wake up and let them do what they did that they've now ruined with NXT, but what they were doing with NXT before it went to the 2-hour show, the only way WWE is ever going to get to that point is if people start watching other stuff. Plain and simple. And there's no excuse for not watching other stuff.
No, this is not like 1996 where you have to trade. If you tape trading to see other promotions.
Hell, it's not even
where you went to.
It's not even 1999 where the only time you could see certain wrestling was the two that were on national TV. I mean, you had to dig to find ECW back in the 90s.
Yep.
And then even in early
2000s
when you had to pay $10 for a weekly pay-per-view to watch TNA. It's not that time anymore. You can literally download the Peacock app right now and watch 5 different wrestling promotions for $5 a month. You can go watch MLW on YouTube for free.
Yep.
Very true. And it's just, I don't know. I do.
I do want to say one more thing, because we're not going to be on the air next couple of weeks. And actually this coming Saturday and Sunday, like I said, this is Wrestle or Kingdom of Honor. This is for Wrestling Without Prejudice. And even though Jeff and I are not fans of the promotion right now, I do also want to let you guys know, if you are fans of the promotion, NWA has 2 pay-per-views next week. They've got NWA 73rd anniversary, and they've got NWA Empower back-to-back nights. And if you want to order them both, you get them for a discount on Fight TV too. So, so enjoy that, guys. If that's what you're into.
I'm not going to say I'm not a fan of NWA. I really kind of like their 80s style that they were doing with the studio show. I've always been a fan of Nick Aldis. I just am struggling with the fact that Nick Aldis is now on his 3rd year as the champion, since he won it back from Cody, and the fact that there's nobody viable to wrestle against him that he's wrestling Trevor Murdoch now, and then to take away the free show that was on that was on YouTube, and take it all off there. You can't even go back and look at the old stuff, and move it to a pay service on Fight. It just, I feel bad. I really do.
Yeah, their business model is troublesome. I think it's a good word for it.
You can't sell it on your owner's name anymore when he hasn't been in the public eye for 15 years. Probably longer than that. Jeez. Probably 25 years.
No, I think utilizing AEW and Impact to get their superstars out there a little bit, and get some eyes on their product is a good idea, but I don't know what else they're going to do to do that, because it's not going to work forever.
Well, and like they had a good momentum going with being part of Ring of Honor. And I really felt like they pulled the switch too soon and started NWA. I'll give them credit. They introduced me to Sammy Guevara,
Ricky
Penelope
Starks.
Ford, and Ricky Starks, who I hated Ricky Starks, but I love him now.
Oh my God! Did the crowd react to him on Wednesday night?
Right?
I don't know. What they're going to do if they really want him to stay a heel. I don't know how they're going to get the crowd to do this. Brian Cage is not the right guy.
No, he's not.
For him to
They're
face
booing Brian Cage.
They're going to keep him as a heel.
Well, and then Brian Cage does another.
Can you blame them? I mean, Brian Cage is a terrible baby face. And so far.
Like we said, the first time he was supposed to be cheered, he came out and beat up the band. This time, he kidnapped half of Team Taz. It's like, why are we supposed to cheer for this guy? He is doing every heel move in the book.
Right. Yeah, and his attempts at promos are clumsy at best.
He's never been a good promo. He's a machine. I'll give him that. But he's never been a good promo.
No, he was in Lucha Underground. He was a good promo Lucha Underground, but that was mostly recorded and stuff. He had time to do those takes. But
yeah, that is true.
But there's also that the other guy that I feel bad that I'm not able to watch because I'm not going to pay $5 a month to watch NWA is Thomas Latimer. He's a guy that we really enjoyed as part of that team with Royce Isaacs. Now Isaacs is part of Team Filthy, so we can still watch him. But Latimer is still in the NWA.
The other thing too that about the NWA that I am grateful that they gave us was I knew Colt Cabana was a fun comedy wrestler. I didn't realize how great Colt Cabana was as a comedy wrestler until that NWA 70 show and watching him in that 4-way when he took off the glove and just started slapping everybody and then slapped the referee with it too. It was just, that was my first real introduction to Colt Cabana and how great he is as a comedy guy.
He really is. Speaking of Colt Cabana, if he and CM Punk have smoothed over their differences, and if they're able to actually share a ring together for some kind of a moment, that's gonna be another great moment for that match.
Yeah. They got a lot of personal stuff to work through though first before that can happen. But
I know. I'm saying, I'm not trying to be negative, but I'm saying I don't want to talk about on their issues. I'm just saying that if they do work through it, that'll be another interesting moment and would actually be a great way to also possibly get Hangman and Punk in the same ring at the same time.
True. Well, guys, if at any point you like this, do us a favor, hit the like button, subscribe button. It helps us out. Share with your friends. It all helps us out. We're just two wrestling freaks that are discussing wrestling for your enjoyment.
I didn't even get a chance to talk about Brock Anderson. I wanted to say before we go off the air that I think it's amazing how they brought that full circle. I mean when Malachi Black debuted, it was because Arn Anderson was out there to talk about Brock Anderson's training, right?
Right.
And now, like 5 weeks later, after that, and that's another great moment after him, taking out Cody at the end of Dynamite. A couple weeks later, we're now getting actually Brock Anderson and Malachi Black in the same ring at the same time. So
and to watch Tony,
great storytelling. Right?
To watch Tony and Arn begging him to not accept the match.
Yeah.
And Arn so worried he's going to get hurt. Just brings another, and then Brock saying, look, I'm a man, I'm going to stand up for myself.
Yeah.
Just brought a whole nother aura to that entire feud. So what's going to happen when Brock does really get hurt?
I don't know.
Is Cody gonna come out of his fake retirement?
Is it wrong that I'm much more interested to see Brock Anderson wrestle than I am Brock Lesnar?
Yeah, true. But I will give it this. Has Cody been on TV since his loss to Malachi?
No, he hasn't.
Huh. Interesting.
I assume he's filming that what is that Go-To show or that
Oh yeah, but
a TNT show?
isn't his child due sometime soon?
Have they not had the baby yet?
I guess I don't remember. I don't, and I mean he could be taking time off right now for that.
Yeah, she was born on June 18th.
Oh, okay.
Liberty Iris Reynolds.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought I read that Brandy was getting herself back in shape after her pregnancy, so I thought that she had had the child. But yeah,
Okay, I guess
yeah,
I didn't know.
yeah, guys, enjoy professional wrestling. So
We can't scream it from the rooftops anymore than we already have.
we'll see you guys in a few weeks when I get back from Chicago. And until then, enjoy what's coming down the pipe. This is Shane saying long days, pleasant nights, and Jeff saying
Goodbye.